Hello, I'm Gino Francesconi, the director of the Archives and the Rose Museum. And today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is Tchaikovsky in America. In 1989, then Executive Director Judith Aaron went to Moscow to negotiate the loans of musicians for our centennial year. And before she left, she called and said, "Do you want me to ask the Russians anything about Tchaikovsky?" And in a very flip way, I said, sure. I said, tell them I want everything related to his trip to New York for an exhibition. And a week later, she called me on her way back. She stopped in London to change planes, and she called me and said, "The Russians love your idea. Get ready, you're going to Moscow next week." It was an amazing time. The Russian government was starting to collapse. And museum curators, the Ministry of Culture, everyone was nervous. No one was sure what was happening from one day to the next. And here comes the archivist from Carnegie Hall wanting to borrow about $20 million worth of Tchaikovsky documents. After a little bit of negotiating, the archivist came out with a box and unfolded it, and my heart just started pounding. There was the Sixth Symphony. There were sketches that Tchaikovsky did at sea. There was his itinerary on the La Bretagne, one of the great French ships of the day. They pulled out a small notebook that they found in one of Tchaikovsky's suit pockets after he'd died. And it's entitled "Trip to America," and it says, "Things to ask. Is it safe to drink the water in America? What kind of cigarettes do men smoke and what kind of hats they wear? Can I get my laundry done? And, oh yeah, check acoustics of the new music hall." For the opening of Carnegie Hall, they had planned a 5-day music festival. There were 18 newspapers in New York City at the time, and they were all filled with the news, "Tchaikovsky's coming." His image was all over the papers, and people would cut out the image and ask him to sign the other side. This is the manuscript to the March Solanell, which was the first work that Tchaikovsky conducted opening night. They kept taunting me with more and more and more material. And I thought, oh, this is great. Can I borrow all of this for an exhibition? And the archivist said, "Niet." She said, "This material has never left Russia and it never will." At one point I said, "Do you have his Bible?" And the reason why I mentioned it is because after Tchaikovsky's appearances, he did what every tourist could, and that was to go see Niagara Falls. At Niagara Falls, Tchaikovsky is in awe of this place, as most tourists were, but he was also taken with the flowers. And he said, everywhere are signs that say, "Do not pick the flowers." He said, "But if I take some and I hide them in my Bible, no one will look there." And so the archivist opened up the box and opened up the Bible, and there were these dried flowers from Niagara Falls. I almost fell over. And the two of us bonded at that moment. She said, "Wow, an American knew about the flowers in the Bible." Ultimately, we negotiated that they would loan us these documents. And it actually got to the point where if civil war had broken out in Russia, we signed an agreement that Carnegie Hall would hold on to those documents and protect them until things calmed down. And I think from the initial "niet" of no, we wouldn't have these documents, to becoming the safe keepers of them, I think a lot was accomplished.